my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, Mzansi. Always so good to be with you. And this morning, we know that we've been having such great vibes with the cooking and the music and everything else in between. But we also need to always have our important conversations. And that is why we know that as a country, sadly, we face the crisis of gender-based violence. It continues to rise in a way that is not just unhealthy, but is also uncomfortable. And just raising awareness about it, it doesn't continue to be enough. My friend, rather we need to get to the root cause of it and understand where exactly it comes from so that we can root it out as a country. That is why this morning we're chatting to Craig Wilkinson, who is the CEO and founder of Father a Nation, and someone who is truly behind getting gender-based violence to be eradicated in this country and hopefully be a space that is 100% safe for all. Right now, though, I want us to also get into this conversation because there's actually research that is behind it to show the fact that, my friend, the cycles of abuse, they do come from the likes of childhood trauma, from what the others have experienced, from their families, and so much more. And that is what we're hearing about this morning. And of course, it is the research conducted by the Human Sciences Research Council. And we're here to have that chat, but in the most meaningful way possible. So let's all give him a feel-good welcome, please. It is Craig Wilkinson, everybody.
Morning.
Craig, good morning. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Good morning. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here with us. And
It's a great
especially
pleasure.
because we're talking about something that is so important, particularly during 16 days of activism against abuse of women and children. So,
Absolutely.
Craig,
Well,
talk to me,
Well, it needs to be more than 16 days, doesn't it? It needs to be
Right?
365. Huh?
That's what I also
Like
always
Valentine's Day.
say.
You don't want to be romantic on 14th. You want to be romantic the whole year.
Exactly.
But it's an urgent issue which needs to be dealt with.
100%. And this is why, we've heard about the key drivers of abuse, which are the likes of childhood trauma and all of that in between. Please talk to us, how we can, as a country, address these matters of gender-based violence.
Well, as you said earlier, we need to go to the core. Creating awareness is good, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
And helping victims is essential, but we don't want victims, do we? We want to eradicate the need. So unless you understand why it's happening,
Yes.
No boy's born an abuser. I'm sure you'll agree.
Sure,
In the DNA
yeah.
of men it's not in the DNA of men to abuse. It's in the DNA of a man to protect.
Yes.
To be a safe space,
Yes.
to love and to serve and to protect. So you've got to look at something goes horribly wrong in the journey from boy to man. And if we understand what that is, then we can begin to address it.
Yeah.
And this recent report, I'm so pleased it's come out because it really confirms what we've been saying for many years. A couple of real issues. One is childhood trauma, mental health issues in men. And in South Africa, we have a very violent past. So it's intergenerational trauma that just continues. We have a fatherless nation, upwards of 60% boys and girls growing up without a father. And that causes huge trauma.
It does.
And we have massive unemployment, which is very emasculating to a lot of men.
Yeah.
And we also have very distorted notions of what it means to be a man.
Yes.
So you put all these three things together and you've got the perfect storm. And that's what we need to address.
Yes, and of course, as Father a Nation, you guys have spoken so much about how healthy masculinity is what is needed in South Africa,
100%.
right? And especially when we think about the fact that, 70% of men believe a woman should obey her husband.
Right.
How does Father a Nation tackle harmful gender norms and even just, the different ways in which society has kind of put people into these kind of gender roles even?
Well, we've started this beautiful movement called Six Pack Inside.
Okay.
So I've written a book called The Six Pack of Masculine Virtues, which talks about, it's not about how macho you are, how big you are, the car you drive. It's around, not the six-pack you have here, although that's nice. I see you smiling. It's the six-pack a man has inside, which is the virtues that make a man a good man.
Sure.
And we talk a lot about that. We run camps, we run groups of dialogues with men, and we talk about what is it that makes you a man? What are the virtues that make you a safe space, a good man, a man that people want to hang around with because they're safe.
Sure. I love that. And one thing I also know is that I think just changing that narrative as well in terms of understanding what masculinity actually is. Because, the way that I think the world has kind of just portrayed it to be about being the macho.
Exactly,
but rather you be macho in your feelings, in understanding them and being able to express them in a healthy way and so much more. So I love that, Craig. But let's talk about this. You guys have you have a program called No Excuse for Abuse.
We do.
And one of the things that you touch on is accountability.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you guys and how you explain the dual focus and how it can break the cycle of gender-based violence.
Well, you know, we talk to men and we say there are two faces that men need to wear. Not that they need to be two-faced, but the one face is the warrior face.
Yeah.
Strong, resolute, take responsibility, bad things happen, take it on the chin.
Yeah.
But that's just half of it. The other half is the loving, caring, nurturing man. So you've got a man who's able to be vulnerable, caring, loving, a safe space, but also is able to take responsibility and do the hard things that need to be done.
Yes.
And that's what we teach men.
Beautiful.
And I think, you know, the backlash to GBV has been very negative towards men. Men don't respond well to being beaten up on the head and said, you're wrong, you know, or being called toxic, or being called trash. That does not help the cause. Men respond for the champion in them to be called out. Now, the No Excuse campaign is all about calling out the champion man.
Beautiful.
Saying to men, you know, you are designed to be a hero.
Yes.
This is how you can be a hero.
And you should be a hero.
You should be a hero, yeah.
Beautiful.
But you can also choose to be a curse, you know. So what do you want to choose? You choose, you know. But
I love that.
once you call out the good in man, the champion in man, the hero, man, they step up.
That's what you're going to get.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Craig, you are a hero. Thank you for being our champion.
Thank you.
For Father a Nation and for the nation. We appreciate you. And this is why we honestly also really do understand what it is that you guys are doing in society. So, beautiful Expresso family, make sure you do not go anywhere. This conversation continues. However, right now, I do want to cross to my beautiful Carissa. She is the one who has absolutely everything that we need to know. Carissa, what's going on, baby?
Only you can make my day.
Oh, my beautiful Cape Townians. Today, as Joe Burgers, we are getting to have a very, very important conversation. And Expresso family, I hope that your ears are open because, of course, we know about the HSRC having that beautiful study that was done that has now allowed us to understand, you know, the root cause of gender-based violence a little bit more. And there's sad findings with the fact that, you know, things like childhood trauma, mental health, and so much more, you know, feed into GBV. But, of course, also knowing that so many people misunderstand what masculinity actually is. And this is why today we're joined by the CEO of Father a Nation, Craig Wilkinson. We're having this conversation in the name of us really being able to truly help out in terms of trying to eradicate GBV in our country. Craig, are you still good?
Absolutely, Zanella.
Yes, I love that. And especially because, like I said, this is an important conversation because you know what? You know, the HSRC, their study underscores the crisis of fatherlessness, you know, as being one of the root causes of GBV. Now, talk to us a little bit about what it is that Father a Nation is trying to do in schools and in communities in terms of just really trying to, I guess, maybe help out with this terrible crisis that has allowed gender-based violence to become what it is today.
Well, we like to think of ourselves as the voice of the father that boys never had. And so our mission is to raise boys to be healthy men.
Yes.
And also to heal and transform men that have grown up with childhood trauma. And there are many. So we run multiple programs. One of the most successful is what we call champion conversations.
Yes.
So we get small groups of men in community, 10 to 12, talking. And we provide a safe platform for them to talk. And you'll just be astounded as when you give men a space to talk, things come out that would never have come out. And healing takes place. And at the same time, we teach them and inspire them, you know, what is true masculinity. Authentic masculinity is a beautiful gift to the world. It's a safe space. It loves, serves, honors, protects, provides. So by giving men a safe space to talk, healing takes place. And then by teaching them what it means to be a good man, they go back to their communities and their homes inspired to be that good man.
Beautiful. And just like you said, you know, bringing out the champion in them, which is what your organization has stood for such a long time and still continues to this day. But of course, we also know, you know, that there's steps that you've taken to provide a little bit of a psychosocial support, rather, for healing men and just allowing them to become the best versions of themselves. So talk to us a bit about the childhood trauma, which can lead to, you know, destructive behavior and how it is when you were rooting that out.
Well, every boy looks to older men to model to him what it means to be a man.
Yes.
Whether it's a biological father is ideal, but it can be an uncle, a bigger brother, a teacher, a coach, a group of men. You know, the whole thing of it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And in the absence of that, there's woundedness. In the absence of that, and often boys grow up seeing their father either absent or abusive, abusing the mom, or escaping into all kinds of abusive behaviors like alcohol abuse, etc. And they take their cues from the older man. So there's both a wound and a lack of understanding of what it means to be a man. So one of the things we provided with the No Excuse campaign, funded by CBL, is a hotline, a helpline for men to actually WhatsApp and get a mentor online to walk with them the journey, because men need men. You know, it's all very well if a boy grows up and he sees his mom cry when she's And that's fantastic because being vulnerable is a normal part of life. But if he doesn't see a man being vulnerable, he's not being given that example.
Sure.
And so boys need men to teach them how to be real men, which is also being vulnerable.
Yeah. And can I tell you, what you just said now has just like made me really think about the fact that sometimes we don't think about how important it is for young children to see things like a man being vulnerable.
Very much so.
Right?
Yeah,
Because for me, I sit here going, okay, cool, he needs a role model.
Yeah.
But something as simple as just knowing that, okay, dad cries sometimes.
Yeah.
That can change something. Yeah.
So dad can be strong and vulnerable because vulnerability is not weakness.
I love
weakness
that.
is weakness. Vulnerability, in fact, they say the biggest lie that men say is, I'm fine.
Sure.
And when you're not fine, it's easy for me to say, hey, brother, I'm good,
Yeah.
But for me to say, hey, dude, I'm really struggling, that takes courage.
It does. Hence they say, vulnerability, it is a strength, it's a superpower, 100%.
It is. Yeah.
So talk to me about your guys' superpowers, because you guys have just had so many beautiful stories come out of Father and Nation. You've had success stories. What are some of these that you can share with us today?
By the grace of God, we have. I mean,
sure.
we've had in our small groups of men confessing to things like being an inkabi, which is a hired killer. And just weeping and saying, I want to get out of this. And these band of brothers help him. We've had a lot of women come to us and say, wow, thank you for the work you're doing with No Excuse, because our husbands were abusive and they've been on your program and they're no longer abusive.
Wow.
We've had one particular man was planning to murder his ex-wife and his kids and then take his own life.
Oh my goodness.
And in this band of brothers shared this, the band of brothers helped him. That was averted. So lives are literally being saved. Men are being transformed. We always say to men too that, one of the big things that men struggle with is if I don't have a job, I'm not a man.
Yeah.
And we say, look, you can be a man even if you don't have a job. You can step up and stand up and be a man.
Yeah.
And men love that.
That's beautiful. Craig, I just want to say thank you again for being one of the heroes that is not just modeling what it is to be a man in this country and a role model rather, but also somebody who genuinely is at the forefront of this fight against gender-based violence. And because of people like you, I feel like we will eradicate it. I know it seems far off, but I feel like it's something that's possible.
We will.
100%. Thank you so much, Craig.
Great
It is Craig Wilkinson, the CEO and founder of Father and Nation and Expresso family. This is where it begins. This is where we start to be able to see the future and create the future that we want for our country as well as for our children, because it is all about rooting out those terrible things and rather allowing our young ones to know what masculinity is, to know what healthy masculinity is, and also to know what healthy relationships are as well. It is right here where I need you to stay rather on Expresso, because my friend, we still got so much more coming your way on your Feel Good Breakfast show. I am talking about, things with my faves, like Carissa and Carl. Hi, my lovelies. Are you still good there in Cape Town? And listen, before actually I even check in on you, let me quickly tell you about something. Expresso family, coming up, we're going to be getting into a few things that I'm excited about. Firstly, skin. It's one of my favorite things. Clear skin. What is the secret to it? We've got one of our families that is here to let us know. And then we have also got our festive stocking competition on the way. And I tell you this much, it is all about how you can win big. Make sure you don't go anywhere. And before we check in on my faves in Cape Town, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back after this.
Oh,